Hello, everybody. You've hit the play button on the Catholic Underground. We're the podcast cutting through the noise and bringing you the topics that matter. It's episode number 426 for those of you who are keeping score. I'm Father Chris Decker, a priest of the Diocese of Baton Rouge. Finally back, joining me in studio, Kathleen Lee. She is a teacher. She is a lover of blueberry things.
Yes.
Because you did, yeah. Mm-hmm. And welcome back, Kathleen.
I'm glad to be back, man. It feels good.
That's right. Very good. We're happy to have you back. And joining us, Olivia Gulino. She is indeed here in studio. She's in Studio B. Hey, Olivia.
Hi.
That's right. We figured the best thing to do would be to observe the physical distancing and whatnot. So for those of you who are watching perhaps in more bestricken areas, that you can feel at comfort that we are following some good procedures as well. Olivia, it's good to be with you as well because you've been busy. We'll talk about that in just a second. And so it's good to come together. Yep. And then also we'll talk about Jeff in a minute, but Jeff's alternate is Albert. We call him Albert the Great. Hey, Al.
Hello
Al.
there.
Albert.
Just trying to keep the Jeff Star afloat.
That's right. The Jeff Star is definitely still in orbit. That's right. And then Ed Ball, who is in Der Ballpit, running the video for us.
The sterilized ball pit.
That's right. Yes, the balls are individually sterilized and put back in the pit every 15 minutes. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we have what we think is an okay show for you, especially coming back.
Yeah.
And we thought we would start by just checking in with each other. Because we do that periodically after we've been away for what's usually like our summer hiatus. Sure. But this was such a strange thing. And honestly, the reason that we stopped podcasting and stopped broadcasting was because we were having a lot of trouble getting the technology to work from afar.
Right.
And we were also having trouble getting out on the radio and everything. So we said, well, we'll pause, we'll retool, and then we'll come back when the time is right. And that's right now.
Yep, here we are.
Yeah. I guess we should start with Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you might remember, for those of you who've been listening to the show or watching for a while, that around the time that the COVID began to wreak its havoc, Jeff went into the hospital.
Yeah.
And so the story goes, he went in for food poisoning. And it turns out there was a lot of other stuff that was wrong. Yeah. And they just kind of started to cascade one after another. And he spent a very long period of time in intensive care. And I mean, Ed could tell you, there were many times where we thought, gosh, it's time to certainly just give Jeff over to the hands of our Lord and let what happens happen. And we did that. And what the Lord did was yank him back, several times. So in the midst of a great deal of hospitalization, Jeff, we can report now, is out of the hospital. He is doing physical therapy regularly, trying to get back into walking because he was bedridden for months, and all of the issues, the health issues. So heart, lungs, you name it, kidneys, everything. All of those are healing, and the only next hurdle for Jeff is eyesight. So he had a little bacterial infection. And doctors are very optimistic about that prognosis as well. And so we figured we'd bring Albert in and give Jeff a chance to continue to heal. Yeah. But Jeff certainly thanks all of you who listen to the Catholic Underground, those of you who watch us, and those of you who have asked about Jeff, and certainly those of you who've been praying for him. When we say it's been miraculous.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when Jeff is one of those guys who just does everything for anybody, and doesn't know. He surely knows when to stop, but he's not going to if it's going to help somebody else.
That's true.
And so it's just such evidence that, man, we got, like, sometimes the Lord is like, you got to rest.
Yeah, it reminds me of what Saint Mother Teresa says. He says, if you don't give until it hurts, you're not doing it right. You're not loving the way that we ought. And loving is truly giving until it hurts.
Yeah. And, we didn't see him for months, because of COVID and, nobody could go see him. And then, he's posted a few videos ever since. And man, to hear that voice
I know
is incredible.
Yeah, that was the thing. So doctors didn't really know what his voice would be because he had to have a tracheotomy and all of those. They had to work with tubes in the area that is close to him, his voice box. And yet, I mean, right after he got out of the hospital, he called me, he FaceTimed me, and he sounded like himself. He sounds like the Jeff that you and I know. And and cognitively, he's all there. So, I mean, man, oh man.
Yeah. I can't wait to the day, and I mean, it's going to be far from now because of COVID, but hopefully not. I can't wait to the day when I can just give him a big old hug.
I know.
Yeah. Although there's less of him now.
Yeah.
I think he lost, I think, what was the number 100 earth pounds?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere thereabouts. So,
wow.
So, yeah. But the best thing about Jeff, though, his heart's still very big.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He can't wait to get back. So,
Yeah.
so we're glad. We're glad of that, certainly. I guess, Olivia, you're next on the docket. What have you been up to in the midst of all of this?
Yeah, what have I been up to? So probably the biggest development in my life is that I'm engaged.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a few times when we were doing the show, like just everybody in their own place and through technology and all that. I was like wearing my ring, and there were a few times where I talk with my hands a lot because I'm Italian, and there were a few times where I would put my hand down and just kind of like slowly like sneak it off because I was like, there's gonna be someone who's been watching the show for a while and being like, that Olivia, she's wearing a ring. Now, does that look like
is this just
ring?
a hipster ring or
She's not wearing any others anyway. But yeah, so
it's real, baby.
That's right. But yeah, so engaged, really happy, and I mean, COVID has been like the end of last school year and the beginning of this school year has been. But I will say that you know what, God definitely doesn't pass up an opportunity to find us where we are and to give us the good things that we need. And you know what, He's still doing that. So even in all like the craziness, that's still happening. But yeah, it's been a little bit wild.
Sometimes I have to read St. Paul at his word, that God does not allow us to be tested beyond our ability.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, okay, Lord, well, I'm glad you know the threshold and that you're confident that I can respond with a yes to go into the vineyard. Because I'm not always so sure.
Yeah.
So good. I'm glad to have you with us, Olivia. And
I'm glad to see y'all again, if from afar.
If from a monitor screen, because Olivia doesn't even have a monitor to look at us. She has to kind of look off into the distance.
But I mean, I'm looking to the camera, and right behind it is Divine Mercy Jesus, and I feel like He's just being like, okay, now be nice. And you're all by yourself, but be nice.
That's like confession in the Eastern Church. It's behind an icon. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
If it helps you to talk to the Lord while you're talking to us and it softens your charity, I think that's not a bad thing, right? That's right. And Kathleen. So Kathleen,
Well, news, I too got myself engaged. Yeah. So I too
did you just dab into the camera?
Yes, I did.
Is that where we are?
I am hip with the young people. Yes. So I too am engaged. So there's been wedding planning somewhat involved. Olivia's going to get married before I am, but we decided I got married in June. I mean, I got engaged in June, and we decided to avoid all the pandemic stuff and aim for next November.
Oh, okay.
So I told my fiance, I said, look, I don't want to get married in any month where it's hot in Louisiana. So we're down to November, December, and half of January.
That's right. You want to dress with all the frills. Yeah. And no vents.
Yes. I don't want to have to put fans up my skirt, to like cool me down. That's weird. But anyway.
We have a couple of priests in the diocese that's part of their wedding retinue.
Oh, yeah?
Is that they have a series of fans strategically placed throughout the sanctuary so that should a bride need. There's at least one priest I know of who has like a push button, like a foot push button fan that you can just kind of go ka-chonk whenever. Yeah.
That's intense.
That's
but I mean,
awesome.
yeah, especially like if it's really hot and
In
like
Louisiana, yeah.
fainting and all that. Like, I mean, I
When
can
you put on a
totally see-
dress and they like, I was telling Father Chris, I went to try on dresses the other day, which was probably the best experience of my life.
Wasn't it fun?
Did you feel like a
So
princess?
fun. I did. I put on like a veil and I practiced walking. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
But like,
a good time.
and she, I mean, it's like an act of Congress to put you in that dress. Like they're tying things and clipping
So
things.
both the
and-
House and the Senate.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And she's like, "Are you secure?" And I'm like, "I don't think anything's going anywhere." Like
Let's
so I
define
can-
our terms.
Yeah.
I'm so secure.
This dress could walk me down the aisle. That's where I am right now.
There it is.
Wait, did you find your dress yet?
No, not yet. I just had some of my bridal parties from out of town, so
Oh, yeah.
they came in town. I said, well, let's just have the the experience. So
Yeah.
I have a couple online that I still want to look at. But
Father Nell says it's just like in Minnesota, except they have strategically placed heaters everywhere for weddings.
Yeah.
okay,
Not shivering to death.
yeah, like I would not be there. We could get married in a snowstorm, and I would not be cold.
You'd just be invisible right, because of the dress. Yeah.
Yeah, but the same as Olivia, went back to school and dealing with 6th and 8th graders and trying to get them independent enough to do online learning and deal
we
with-
were talking about because you have an interesting classroom situation.
Right, yeah. So now we're utilizing all the space on our campus because
To keep everybody apart.
right, not all of our classrooms are big enough to do socially distancing. So now starting this week, I've been assigned the gym.
Ah, I see. Yes.
The husky nurse is going to be in the gym. How appropriate. But yeah, so I mean, so one thing I just I've seen it online and. The parents and everyone at our school has been super supportive and patient.
Yeah.
But like, if you haven't heard this, you have no idea what teachers are going through on a daily basis. So please, please be patient and kind to them. I'm not looking for like presents and gift cards, unless you want to send me some. I'm just saying, like, if you're a parent and you're dealing with a teacher, we are like Olivia can attest to this. We're dealing with things we've never had to deal with before.
Yeah.
Making sure kids are 6 feet apart. What does 6 feet
Constantly.
look like?
Yeah.
One of the things I yelled across the playground the other day to a student, I was like, "Student, your mask is not dental floss." And I was like, add that one to the list. Like this, so and we have online students and it's pandemonium. But man, shout out to educators and to administrators who are doing the best they can, because even now when I get frustrated, I'm like, there's no one to be frustrated at. It's just the situation that everybody's in. But we have teachers who are struggling, kids who are struggling. The little ones, it's hard to tell them why they can't run around and play at recess, why they can't, they're like, "Oh, I'll go help him with that assignment." I'm like, "No, you can't. You guys sit in your desk."
Yeah,
all day.
That's been a really like challenging part is like, well, like, because we have, one-to-one technology and I teach freshmen. And so like, there's a lot of things that they're just like, I don't know how to get on this program. I don't know how to fix this problem. And I'm like
You're
trying to
part
picture
tech
it in my
support
head.
now.
Yeah. And I was last year, but it was just easier for me to like stand over them and be like, all right, press that, touch that, whatever.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, so imagine your screen. If you're looking at the top left,
Yeah.
but no, I want to echo what Kathleen was saying too, that like, and I'm only a second year teacher, which even feels weird to say because what happened to the first year, but I feel like this is just an extended first year, but yeah, someone was asking me the other day, like, what's, like, how is it dealing with like teaching and with all the COVID stuff? And I was just like, honestly, like, I think the COVID stuff is like the only consistent thing.
Yeah.
Now, because like, cleaning the desks and wearing the masks and,
It's kind of a rota.
it's just kind of like,
you.
that's a constant and you can expect that every day, but it's like, there's changes that have to be made every day because of those things or because of like, changes in the phasing and all that.
Right.
And so it's like, that's the constant chaos, and it's like the unpredictability, but all the other stuff is like, I actually kind of depend on that stuff now because at least it's like routine,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, in Louisiana, we've just moved into the very beginnings of phase 3. And today I was telling my parishioners at the conclusion of Mass, I said, and as you know, we're in phase 3 and my staff's going to meet this week and we're going to kind of figure out what that looks like in our parishes because, as you know, I've got 3. And so trying to figure out how to make things as smooth and equitable as possible. Yeah. I said, but there's one thing that I can do today, and that's process out of the church and greet you.
Yeah.
I said, and I will because I miss you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing how just over the course of a day or of a week, that we priests generally come in contact with so many people, and to have a lot of that contact, if not changed or completely just eradicated, it's really tough for us. And so it was nice to be able to stand out outside and kind of do what I did 4 months ago, you know, and just to check in with people and see how they're doing outside of absolute crisis, which has been a lot of that. I find it interesting too that the whole COVID response thing has allowed for an opportunity of a lot of things that were kind of working their way in a direction kind of have accelerated, and it gives us the opportunity as Catholics and certainly as priests to respond in a new and a different way. And so we're going to be making some changes to our religious education program, because one of the beautiful things about kids having to do a lot of their learning from home is that when you're talking about that in the context of Catholic education, that's really where it's supposed to culminate, to begin and to return. And so we as the priests of the parish and the catechists of the parish really should be facilitating that rather than kind of top-down teaching it. And so we're going to be making a few changes. So I'm optimistic about some of these things as well, and to see how they feed back into parish life. Because I do expect parish life to return. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I do expect it certainly to return. And so that's kind of one of the things that's been going on in the parish. The other is that we've done a lot of liturgies that have been streamed. So early on, I was doing night prayer and then streaming daily Mass, and actually eventually had to stop that because I found myself smack dab in the middle of a diverticulitis diagnosis. And so having to deal with that as well, I was out for the count for probably 2.5 months myself. Roughly around the time that Jeff was in the hospital, I was just in bed. I couldn't do anything except take my antibiotics and go back to sleep. And so it was a really kind of a strange couple of months for me as well. To be not only kind of separated from parish work, the regular parish work, but also separated from the streaming stuff, the little bits of apostolate that I had been doing. So it's good to be back here in the studio and things slowly kind of creeping back to normal in the parish in one way or another, you know. Finally keeping office hours again, that sort of thing.
I have a hunch that you suffer from the same thing that Jeff does, and that when it comes time to like do things, you do everything.
Yeah,
that might have been a little nudge to think.
No, I think the Lord, again, kind of that He does not allow you to be tested beyond your ability. I think the Lord knows, and oftentimes the times I've felt closest to the Lord, and I know some of you have this experience as well, the times I felt closest to the Lord are when I am ill, when I'm suffering in some way, bodily, and Jesus knows that. And so it's almost as if He says, okay, the monastery, your great silence will start now because we've got work to do together. And so I've oftentimes, whenever I've gotten sick, I tend to look at it that way, and it doesn't make it easier, but at the same time, it gives the context that's needed to say, okay, Lord, take me. I can. You've bent my will, and now all I can do is say yes. And so there's certainly that part of it too. It's been an interesting time, and certainly the interesting continues. I tell you what we'll do is we'll take a brief little respite and just remind people that we are the Catholic Underground. Yes, indeed, we are the Catholic Underground, and you found us. Hopefully you're listening at CatholicUnderground.com. Maybe you're watching us on Facebook.com/Catholic Underground, or maybe you're on the Roku and you're watching us as well. I'm Father Chris, joined by Kathleen and by Olivia and by Alberto, and then by Ed as well.
Eduardo.
Yeah, exactly. So We've been checking in, kind of giving you the lay of the land with our lives, and certainly you can always let us know what's been going on in your life. You do so in the chat room, and then also you've been doing so by sending us mail. In fact, I meant to bring it. I meant to bring some physical back chat. Here's the long and the short of it. One of our viewers up in New York said, I've enjoyed all the reruns, but now it's time to go back to work. And so it's good to be back.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things that we've not been able to do is go anywhere or do anything.
Right.
And I know that I was supposed to be on several pilgrimages, one to Rome, one to Germany, to Oberammergau for the Passion Play. And then I had another visit to somewhere planned that was just completely canceled. It might have just been to Texas.
I was going to say
to Tejas, to visit some other undergrounders.
Yeah.
And all those things have fallen through. And so we thought we'd talk a little bit about where we would go whenever we can go again.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're young and poor and you dream about where you can go one day. That's kind of where we all are in this COVID, we all have places that, I actually had a trip to Rome planned. Oh, that's right. No, I didn't. I didn't have a trip
Poor
to
Kathleen.
Rome planned.
We were talking about it, though. We were talking about doing an underground.
We've talked and talked about it.
No, but like we were really talking about it.
Yeah, we were.
Right?
And then we didn't.
It wasn't just you.
Both my parents and my brother and his wife were going to Rome. We're scheduled to go to Rome this summer. Not me, but whatever. I'm not bitter. And so we've all had, plans change. And so, as of right now, as we go to air, you still can't travel from America to a lot of places in Europe. I think any places in Europe, really, including Italy. But
Italy itself is reopening.
Italy itself is reopening. And if you remember, when COVID first started, Italy was like one of the biggest hot spots. And they shut down Italy, and they had all these, we can remember those videos of people that were out on their balconies singing and, playing music, but they were all socially distanced because the whole place was shut down. But for those of you who have been to Italy, not me, you know that one of the best kept secrets of amenities or places to stay are retreat houses or guest houses that are run by the different religious orders. And if we know anything, we know that there are a ton of religious orders that call Italy, especially Rome, home.
That's right.
Right. And so, much like all of the hotel businesses, the travel industry, anything to do with taking trips, these guest houses have really suffered because even though you don't spend as much as you would at a hotel, you're still paying to stay there.
That's right. And it's a source of income for their order.
And they use that for their order. But as the world starts to open up, and especially as Italy starts to open up, these religious orders and these guest houses are super eager to let the world know, hey, start planning your trip because we are opening.
The day will come.
Yes, right. And so the Catholic News Service has reported that all but just a few guest houses in Italy have reopened. And in fact, this guy, Fabio Rocci, I'm gonna say that's how you say it.
It's probably Rocchi.
It probably
with
is.
two C's.
But never been to Italian. I don't know how they say
No,
those
you actually
things.
might be right, Rocci, because it's two C's together, right? Like pizza.
Yeah. So when you have
Rocci, you got
There
it. Sorry.
is. Well, actually, he's the
like
president.
cappuccino.
Oh yeah, like that. Oh, they're so fancy. He is the president of the Italian Association of Religious Guest Houses, and he said that out of the 1,700 guest houses he's in touch with, only about 140 of them have shut down indefinitely.
Oh wow.
So I mean,
That's still a low number. I suppose.
Yeah.
but you're talking about over 1,500 guest houses that are open and ready to go.
Yep.
And usually you would need to make, arrangements way far in advance because there are a lot of people who make a pilgrimage, who make a trip to Rome.
That are traipsing through those city streets. Yeah.
And are looking to find, a good place to stay. But because of the vacancies now, there's a lot of availability. And in fact, let me find her name. Ilaria? Ilaria.
Arcella.
Arcella. She manages the Casa San Giuseppe for the Daughters of St. Joseph's. And she said their guest house closed but was opened back up in May. And as of the end of August, was only at 40% capacity.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we're talking, when you look at like the travel industry, a lot of the hotels now are offering great deals and staying at a retreat house or a religious community.
Yeah, pensione would be one of the words that they call.
Right, is already a great deal.
Yeah.
Right, and so this is available. And so what makes staying at a convent or a monastery different from staying at a hotel? One of them is its affordable rates.
Yeah, like €40 a night.
Yeah.
Or even less sometimes.
Or even less.
Yeah.
I've stayed in a few, like through monastery stays or like word of mouth. I highly recommend, first of all, cute little religious everywhere.
Yeah.
Second of all, usually access to the Blessed Sacrament. But also, like really inexpensive and like they're willing, like they'll tell you, kind of cool places to go that, a hotel is not necessarily going to tell you about or care that you know about. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So affordable rates. They're usually in beautiful historic buildings with historic furniture, and a lot of times it's simple. Like, so you're not worried about does the coffee maker and the microwave in my room work. It allows you to be present where you are.
That's right.
And experience the city itself, and not like I know sometimes when I go to a hotel, I'm like, I could just stay here in this hotel. Why would you do that? Right? So it allows you to get out, right? And as Olivia was saying, a lot of these places, offer daily mass and access to the sacraments, right, as well as the Blessed Sacrament. And those can be vital things for people who are on a pilgrimage rather than just a trip.
Yeah.
The spiritual journey rather than just being a tourist.
Right.
And so if you are planning, my parents had to reschedule their trip to next summer. But if you are planning on a trip or you're rescheduling a trip, Olivia suggested monasterystays.com, and that's
fantastic.
It's a great place where you can look not only in Italy but all over the place. Where are some religious communities that are offering that offer guest houses? Or, they're similar to, I would say similar to. They're not hostels, but they're similar.
You could say that. I mean, you could almost say that because, as you say, typically you get a bed, and oftentimes the bathroom is in your room, right? Sometimes it's down the hallway, but most of the convents and religious houses, it's in the same room.
Yeah.
And then also there's usually some basic form. Now, breakfast in Italy is its own animal. Usually you can bet on some sweet bread of some kind, and almost always coffee of varying quality.
Yeah.
So but don't go anywhere because that music means that we have to take a bit of a break, but we'll be back talking about pilgrimages and whatnot. You are listening to and watching the Catholic Underground. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy towards us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary. Well. Welcome back to the Catholic Underground. Apparently our computers are a little tired. If you're watching us in the video feed, they're just a little sleepy.
They'd like to work from home, they've decided.
They do, yeah. Unfortunately, they're not using Zoom.
Yeah.
They're using Turtle, I think. Yeah. It's okay. It is what it is. Catholic Underground is us.com. I'm Father Chris Decker, joined by Kathleen Lee, Olivia Gulino. Alberto Magno is in the sound pit. That sounds terrible. That sounds like the what is it? The pit that the creature lives on in Star Wars. What was that called?
Can't help you.
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a Star Trek fan.
That's what I thought you were going for.
From
Princess Bride.
I feel like I have the red shirt on.
Yeah, well, there you go. A sarlacc pit. And yeah. Sorry. Okay.
That sounds terrifying.
It is, in fact. It's mostly teeth. Well, you found us, and we're glad that you have. And then Ed's in the ball pit, which is, because his name is Ed Ball. I'm sorry. There are so many inside jokes that, we've tried to retool the show so that Kathleen, what she said about listening to podcasts could be true, where we kind of get rid of some of those inside jokes so that those of you who are joining us maybe for the first time ever can go, I can listen to this program. I know what they're talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
Kathleen, we were talking about going to visit other countries, but then going to stay in hostels, right? These little kind of pensioni.
Well, yeah, because that's the first thing you want to do when you are trying to plan a trip.
Yeah.
You want to get your airfare, you want to get where you're going to stay, you want to get how you're going to travel.
Yeah.
And, it's always going to cost, no matter if you're going on pilgrimage or not,
yeah.
Or mission or not, or just touristy or not. The plane fare is always probably going to be the same. Expensive.
Yeah.
But
although maybe not now.
Yeah. Actually,
they want you on their plane.
Actually, definitely not now. I've traveled a couple times, and definitely not now. But one of the places that you can, especially if you're going on a religious-based trip, whether it be a pilgrimage or a mission, or you really are going, because there's nothing wrong too, and I want to say this, there's nothing wrong with going to religious sites and not going on mission or
as an official pilgrim.
As an official pilgrim, because a lot of times, there's just nothing wrong with that. But you can still stay at these religious orders that are offering guest houses.
Sure.
And make it a unique experience, because you're going to stay at a hotel, probably, every other trip you go on.
Yeah.
But if you can find a religious order that's offering a guest house, it's phenomenal. And in fact, in 2009, I was going to spend, I did spend a month in Africa, on mission. And one of the that was one of our concerns, is where we were going to stay. And there was a Jesuit priest who we were going to work for, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's this retreat house for nuns. You can stay there." And it was awesome, because every morning at 5 a.m. the bell rang and the sisters started to sing for mass. And I was like, whoop, gotta go. Like running down the stairs, right? And it was phenomenal, because if they were protected for sure by the community. Yeah. Not only by like their, it wasn't the best part of town, because it was, in the middle of Kenya, in Nairobi. And, if I told people where I was staying, they were like, "Oh, we'll get you back there." Yeah. Well then, I know the way. Let's go. I'll walk with you.
It's kind of one of those touchstones of the community.
And there was certainly a security guard as well, but like, and a big old fence, and they locked the fence at 9 a.m. And there were several times I had to call one of the sisters to let me in.
Yeah, that's one of the fallbacks. If there is like a negative tick mark on staying in a religious house, there's often a curfew.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just remembering, like, I was at a conference for the USCCB back when I worked for the diocese, and so it was in DC, and like if you were, like female and you were on this at this conference, you could stay at this like religious house, and then if you were male, you could stay at this other place, or you could find your own accommodations. But I was like, hey, it's free if I stay at this religious house, so like that's what I want to do. And it was really close to where we were supposed to meet and all that. So I'm staying in this house, and but like the conference ends on like a Thursday, but that Thursday night I had to stay because I couldn't get another flight until the next day. And so I'm just staying in this house, and I went to a concert actually that night, and didn't realize like that that number one, that there was a curfew, just because like I was always in like before that the previous nights, and I wasn't out super late. And I kept getting these like weird calls on my phone from someone, and like when I picked up, I like, couldn't hear who it was, and so I was just like, oh man, so random. And then I finally get there, and like the door is locked, and I have to call like a phone number to get in, like that I just have in the little welcome packet or whatever. And this poor little elderly nun, like just kind of in her little nightwear, comes to the door, and she's like, I called you 6 times, and I was like, huh?
Oh no.
Sorry, let me in.
Like I was like mortified, and I just like snuck out in the morning. I'm just like, bye.
You were the near occasion for a lot of grace for her.
So sorry.
Yeah. That's true.
So if you want experiences like that, Highly recommend.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So both Olivia and you, Kathleen, as well, have had experiences staying in those religious houses. I know I had a friend who flew down from Norway. He was visiting friends in Norway. He flew down to Rome because I was there during my sabbatical.
Yeah.
And he stayed at a religious house, religious sisters.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh man, they're just so happy."
Yes.
All the time.
They are. And they, you see them and they're like, they're going about their day, and, you really get like a kind of an inner viewing of
their life.
These are normal people who live for Jesus every day in literally everything that they do.
Yeah.
When you're in Africa, they were like, here's our washing machine. It's a sink with a bar of soap. Here and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And many a nights I would spend, and my arms were hurting, and they're like, "Oh, can I help you?" And like they do half my laundry, while I'm still working on one shirt because I have no idea how to do this, And the conversations and just like sharing meals with them and being able to, they invited us to, of course, to mass, and just incredible. It was incredible. I highly recommend it. And where I stayed, it was a retreat house for nuns, so there were many different orders and many different women from really all over the world who were doing mission or were traveling or were just there for a week or whatever. So it was
It
awesome.
Almost reminds me of whenever a lot of actors, like if they play a priest or a nun in a movie, you can't help but begin to breathe deeply the Catholicity of the part that you're playing. And I wonder if that's not the same way for some people who go to religious houses.
Yeah.
They may go because it's €25 a night,
right.
but you can't help but be exposed to religious life.
Right.
And so that in and of itself, being a hospitaller, right, being someone who offers hospitality is itself a great work of evangelization.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually where we get the notion of pilgrimage too, is that part of being a pilgrim is that element of faith expectancy.
Right. Yeah.
Of expecting your faith to present itself.
Right.
And I think that even if you're going to go to as a tourist, there are little like hints of pilgrimage that take place if you stay in a religious house.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you can go on you can go on a tour, go as a tourist just on a trip. And if you visit any religious space or place or order, that when you enter, like to me, the idea of pilgrimage is I'm entering into this experience fully.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to see, I'm going to really experience.
Right.
It's the same thing, I think, in the same way, mission. I didn't go to Africa for a month to hang out, and, I went to fully experience the people and to be there with a purpose.
Yeah.
Not just to see, but and look, tourism is great. If you want to go see, that's fine.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the difference between the three,
there was an article in a publication called The Furrow, which is it styles itself as a journal for the contemporary church, but it was founded at St. Patrick's College in Maynooth. And there was an article in 2002 called Pilgrims or Tourists. And the author, Frank Fahey, kind of gave a little hint of what would it be for me to be a pilgrim and what is it for me to be a tourist. Yeah. And so, as I said, in tourism, an element of faith is not required, right? You're just kind of making your way. But if you're going to be a pilgrim, then there's a what's called a kind of a faith expectancy, an expectancy that your faith will present itself or you will be introduced to the faith.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He also says that penance is a component of pilgrimage. In fact, if you read the Canterbury Tales or if you look at the history of pilgrimage, oftentimes it is penance number one.
Yeah.
That is the reason that people will go on pilgrimage, either to seek penance, to find forgiveness, or if in the ancient world you were in the order of penitence, you were actually going to make amends for the sins that you had committed with the expectancy of being absolved by the bishop. Yeah. Right? But if you're a tourist, tourists oftentimes penance is the last thing on their mind, right? And so those are some kind of subtle differences there. As well as community too. In pilgrimage, I know whenever I walked those portions of the Camino in 2018, Father Ryan Humphries and I went together, but it ended up being fairly solitary.
Yeah.
Even if you're going with somebody, there is this notion that I am going on pilgrimage. In fact, as you've heard me say, my camino is what they say over and over, that you may go with a group, but the Lord has something specifically in the plan for you. And with tourism, oftentimes you spend a lot of time, most of the time, with your friends or your family that you go with. There's also not a real big emphasis on sacred space as an internal thing of creating that internal place for the Lord to work. When we're tourists, we don't typically think about those sorts of things, right? We're just kind of going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, ritual is a big part of being a pilgrim in the article. And you know that, too, especially as a Catholic. Whenever we consent to go on a pilgrimage, it means that we are necessarily going to place ourselves in those moments of liturgy because that is externalizing some of the transformational stuff that's taking place, hopefully, within us on pilgrimage. Not necessarily present if you're just a tourist. And then there's the notion of the votive offering. Ex voto is one of those great Italian phrases, is an offering back for something that has been done for me or to me by God. And so if you go into a lot of those Italian churches, or really churches all over the world that are pilgrimage sites, you'll see sometimes like a little metal or a wooden carving of a piece of the body, so like of a leg or something, or you'll see crutches everywhere, or you see a plaque that says ex voto. And that is a kind of a leaving behind of ourselves to God in thanksgiving for the work worked. In fact, that's also why we call them votive candles. When you go into the church and you light a candle, the reason we do that is to extend the time of intercession, asking the intercession of one of the saints. So that's present there. Whereas if you're just a tourist, travel is the good life. That's where you're going. You're just going for the just the journey, and not all the stuff that the journey involves. In fact, even to the point where whenever you celebrate, you might drink to forget as a tourist all your troubles, whereas you're drinking to celebrate, to remember what's going on, or you're eating, especially in Italy, you're eating to remember what's going on. And then there's the notion of perseverance too, right? As a pilgrim, you're learning to become recommitted to your faith and to life as it lays out before you. So you're never not a pilgrim. But when you're a tourist, well, you come back and the holiday's over. And so, Kathleen, have you actually been on pilgrimage before, like an actual pilgrimage?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. You went to Poland.
I went to Poland, and also every year we went on the March for Life. That was
sure.
our
And that's a
thing.
very real pilgrimage.
I am a pilgrim and not a tourist.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it was drilled in. And Olivia, you've been on pilgrimage before.
Yeah. So I've been to Poland on pilgrimage, the Holy Land, and I feel like there's one more, but yeah.
One day I will go to Holy Land.
Yeah.
It's supposed to go in January. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully. I don't
Maybe.
know. Who knows?
Who knows?
I was about to say, well, you can go. And then I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, no, that was definitely like a definite one of those experiences that y'all are talking about where like you can't experience that and leave unchanged.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Pope Benedict, whenever he visited Santiago de Compostela in 2010, in fact, there's video that we've probably shown on this program before of him in Santiago with the big botafumeiro, the big incenser.
That's my favorite thing.
And he's just kind of watching it with these, I hope it doesn't hit me eyes.
That's
this huge censer.
So
That's right.
cute.
I love that. I want to see that so bad. I show my kids that probably every year. And I'm like, you think the Catholic Church is boring? Check this thing out.
Not only are we not boring, we're very weird, and it's
Right?
awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pope Benedict
yes.
said, to go on pilgrimage is not simply to visit a place to admire its treasures of nature, art, or history. To go on pilgrimage really means to step out of ourselves in order to encounter God where he has revealed himself, where his grace has shone with particular splendor and produced rich fruits of conversion and holiness among those who believe. Above all, Christians go on pilgrimage to the Holy Land, to the places associated with the Lord's passion, death, and resurrection. They go to Rome, to the city of martyrdom of Peter and Paul, and also to Compostela, which, associated with the memory of St. James, has welcomed pilgrims from throughout the world who desire to strengthen the spirit with the apostles' witness of faith and love. And then we could also add on to that all of the places that Our Lady has appeared as well. Fatima and Lourdes are certainly two of the big ones that come to mind. And also, I think about the pilgrimage sites now to Our Lady of Walsingham in Great Britain, part of Our Lady's Dowry. You know, that these are all places where we truly allow the Lord to change us, for sure. I'll mention again monasterystays.com because those are some great places if you're starting to think ahead and starting to plan, like maybe I could carve out some time for maybe not a big whole pilgrimage, but maybe a mini pilgrimage, mini vacation, but some actual specific time of pilgrimage, and monasterystays.com could be the place to do that. Yeah, it's really cool because it's a website that was issued in the Great Jubilee of 2000, and it's just kind of stuck around. So that's kind of neat.
Nice.
Alrighty, yeah. One of the things that we thought we would do, you'll remember that the Catholic Underground oftentimes does a pick of the week, but we figured we would try something a little bit new and make the pick of the week kind of a rotating segment. And so for part of the rotation, what we call Patron Saint Bingo, where we talk about some of the stranger saints. But I thought maybe rather than just the strange saints, to connect one of the saints that is associated with being a pilgrim. In fact, it didn't really occur to me the whole time I was on Camino. I would see these huge murals. And when I mean huge, I mean like 20 or 30 feet tall murals of St. Christopher. And I don't know why at the time I didn't think about it, but St. Christopher, of course, is the patron of travelers. And so we thought we'd talk a little bit about him here in Patron Saint Bingo to kind of get things started off. Yeah. So Saint Christopher has a couple of names. Auferus is one. So my name is Christopher, so I know a whole bunch about this name here. So Christopher is bearer of Christ, Christ bearer. So like to offer something. So sometimes Christopher is called Saint Auferus, and sometimes Reprobus. Indicating he may have been a thief at one time, like one who was reprobate. so every now and then you'll see that.
Depends on who you read. Some people are like, oh, he was just this rich kid, and then some people are like, no, he was definitely a thief and a really bad guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I don't know what sources people are pulling from for those kind of opposite. Or not opposite, but just really
those images
inclined,
of this person. Yeah. Well, for our purposes, we call him Saint Christopher because that's how he appears in antiquity in the church. According to certainly one legend in the 3rd century in Asia Minor, he was the son of a king, and the story goes that he lived a rich life but searched for purpose. And if I think about, honestly, Saint Christopher could be a patron saint of the hipster child because, he living a life of some means, but still searching for purpose and trying not to be a man-child, Sorry for all you other Christophers out there.
And for all you
gosh, this explains so much about me. I guess I really do embody the name. Anyway, but the important thing about him that becomes relevant later in the story is that he was a big guy, strong guy. He's often depicted as being one of the more muscular saints. So I haven't lived up to that part of my namesake.
There's still time.
There's still time, you think? Okay. The very first person to have asked to him, bro, do you even lift, I guess, was was Saint Christopher. But anyway, so the story goes that Saint Christopher was looking for the strongest and boldest ruler to follow. And in the legend, he courted Satan as an option. And so that might also be where the notion of him as reprobus is, right? Yeah. Kind of playing with fire there.
Yeah, I think I've heard that he followed some people that followed Satan. Right?
Oh,
So I think, it would make sense if that's true that he, got mixed up in a crowd that was,
and that's a kind of
sketchy.
It's kind of like an Augustinian, at least trajectory, because Augustine, in the beginning, in the Confessions, he talks about how he was very much and is still at the time of this writing of an intellectual mind, and so he went looking for people who are like-minded, and that's how Manichaeism kind of slipped in.
Yeah. Yeah, Manichaean being that group of followers of a very kind of parallel gospel to Jesus, where basically spirit good, body bad, right? Yeah. And so we don't know exactly, but it's very possible that Christopher, in trying to find the strongest, to find the boldest, maybe began going down the wrong path, but eventually met a holy hermit who introduced him to Christianity. He was baptized. And from there, he pledged his life to serve Christ, because at some level he figured out, well, this is the boldest ruler of all. He was the one who went to the cross, and he was the one who died for my sins, you know. But of course, the story goes is that he would help people to cross this giant river. You know, he was a boatman, right? And depending on what story you look at, he's the boat, right? He's carrying people across. And the best part of the legend is a small child approaches him one day and wants safe passage across the river. And so St. Christopher, before he was saint, right, Chris, just put the boy on his shoulders and began to carry him across the river. And I guess we should call him Opherus, the one who was carrying, right?
Right, yeah.
And as the water got deep, the child was growing heavier. You know,
what are you eating, child?
Kind of like me on vacation. Yeah. And then the waters kept rising, and the child was just continuing to get like physically impossibly heavier. Right, so much so that Opherus almost drowned. And according to the historians, as he reaches the banks of the river, he said, "Child, thou hast put me in great peril. Thou weighest almost as if it had all the world upon me. I might bear no greater burden." And then the boy responds, "Christopher," changing his name from Opherus to Christopher, "thou hast not only borne all the world upon thee, but thou hast borne him that created and made all the world upon thy shoulders." And so that's certainly the legend, therefore, of St. Christopher, whose name means Christ bearer. Yeah. And so, as I recall, Olivia, he told him to cross the river again, and then.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. You're doing great.
I'm all alone in my little cave. So he told him to, and this part like reminds me kind of Saint Joseph, or at least like some of the legend around Saint Joseph. But he told him to like go cross back into the river and put his staff, you know, because he's probably using this staff to anchor himself as he's carrying people across this river, and to plant it in the middle of the river, and that life would spring forth from it. And it did. So like the next morning there were flowers and fruits coming off of this staff. And I just thought that was like really beautiful, especially because if you think about like there's life coming in the middle of this chaos, and that's like creation. That's going back to the beginning of Genesis. And, you know, there's chaos, there's the kind of primordial chaos, and then the Spirit hovers over the waters and brings order from it. But not just order, but life, you know? And that's the beginning of all life. And so I just thought that it was beautiful that like the sign that God gives, that Christ gives Christopher, that like he is who he says he is basically like a recreation moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. An actual recreation. Yeah. So this flowering staff, this fruit-bearing staff.
Yeah. Because I mean, a staff is a piece of dead wood. You know, it's not connected to anything living anymore. It's just a piece of dead wood. And so for that to have life come from it, that's a recreation. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really kind of the core of St. Christopher, of his life before, his life up until Christ visiting him, and then what happened with his life afterwards. We don't really know a whole lot about what happened afterwards. There's some say that he was imprisoned and then martyred by Decius in the 250s. We don't really know. Yeah. In fact, that was one of the reasons that has been given for his name being removed from the general Roman calendar in 1970. Along with Saint Valentine and a couple of other saints, just because there was not a whole lot of surety about the legend and the person. But riddle me this. For those who have asked St. Christopher's intercession throughout these thousands of years, especially as pilgrims making their way to Compostela, and all the intercessions that have been granted, I think St. Christopher's real. Yeah. And he's on the calendar.
And in all actuality, like, you know, where did talking to my kids, you know, like where do these prayers actually end up? In the hands of God. So
that's right.
If we can use St. Christopher, real or not, as a vessel to put our faith in God, it's God who ultimately grants the request that we ask for. And so, I was talking to my students. I think I blew their minds every year. I do. And usually it's high schoolers, so they have a little bit of an idea, but poor sixth graders. We had to talk about creation.
Oh.
And about how it probably didn't happen exactly how it was written.
Mm-hmm.
But it very well could have,
Right.
but probably didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think I crushed some spirits. But, I was talking about, we're not talking about the what actually happened.
Yeah.
We're talking about why did it happen?
Yeah.
What's behind it? Like, what's the meaning behind it? And what is the meaning of this, this guy, whether he be real or not, right? Is that, he had an encounter with Christ and he almost missed it.
Right. Yep.
And it changed his life. And so what are we learning? That, we need to be aware of those people that we encounter in our lives, because like Mother Teresa said, I'm paraphrasing this, but somebody asked her, like, why do you take these people off the street? They're going to die anyway. Like, why do you take them and spend resources on them? You don't have anything. And she was like, because she's sassy like this, and I love her to death because she's just wholly sassy. And she said, I'm paraphrasing again, each one of them is Jesus in disguise. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to miss him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, duh, dang, okay. Like, how many people do I walk by on a normal day and not even acknowledge? Or how many people do I encounter and I don't treat them as if they were Jesus? Yep. Right? And this guy was told, look, I'm Christ.
That's right.
You just did a thing. Like, this is big deal, and it changed his life. And so what it's not, it's not the details.
Yeah.
It's
because the church can venerate saints in mystery.
Exactly.
That's part of it.
Yeah. Like, I think sometimes, like, we have a different idea of tradition now, like the way that we pass things on. Like, we think of it more as a game of, like, telephone. Like, so 12 people down the line, we don't know if what they really know is true. But, like, in the ancient world, it wasn't that way, because not everyone was literate. That was very, very rare. Yeah. So, like, this is how history and tradition gets preserved, is by passing it down. And so, like, the things that come to us, even as, like, sketchy, I think like, we can't maybe put all our eggs in that basket, but, like, to say that, well, it just can't be true, I think would be like to do a discredit to how information has been passed down. Right. Exactly. Just for most of the world's history, Yeah. And I think that it's a beautiful part of how, like, we think about, like, when St. Helena got to finally go to the Holy Land 300 years after Christ died. Right. The only reason she was able to find those things is because they'd been preserved. Exactly.
Yep. And so let's close up with a prayer asking St. Christopher's intercession. Almighty God, grant that we who celebrate the memory of your blessed martyr Christopher may be made stronger in our love for you through his intercession, through Christ our Lord. Amen. All righty, St. Christopher, pray for us on our earthly pilgrimage through all of this craziness. The Catholic Underground is made possible for you, by you, our viewers, listeners, our prayer warriors, and our benefactors. You can become an official undergrounder by going to catholicunderground.com/donate and helping us out. You can also help us out by letting others know about us. Remember to like us, heart us, and star us on your platform of choice. And if the podcasting service you use has a review option, please consider leaving a review or a favorable comment. Our panelists this week have been Kathleen Lee. Thank you, Kathleen.
Anytime.
Also, Olivia Gulino. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank y'all.
Yep. We thank Albert Dupont for running interference for us in the audio cave there, and then the ball pit there, Ed, for running our video. Jim Hayes is our research assistant with his crew in the lab, and you know me. I'm Father Chris Decker. I'm so glad to be back with you after all this time, and I know that we've got what I think is a good season planned for you for the Catholic Underground. So you have indeed been listening to the Catholic Underground. We are cutting through the noise so you can find that still small voice, and we, my friends, will see you next time.
From the Catholic Underground.